The importance of the first pillar, Jewish community concerns, is amplified by an ugly rise in anti-Semitism. ADL does an annual audit of anti-Semitic incidents in the US and California, and they recently reported that last year in 2022, there were more anti-Semitic incidents in California and in the US than in any other year they'd ever surveyed, dating back to the 1970s when they started their survey. And shockingly, the number of anti-Semitic incidents has tripled since 2016. And in California, they shot up 41% last year alone. These numbers demonstrate the importance of key elements of today's lobbying agenda that you'll be addressing when you meet with the lobbying visits later today. This includes continued funding for the nonprofit security grant program, as well as supporting the work of the California Collaborative on Holocaust and Genocide Education, because the best way to eliminate hate is through education. The second pillar of JPAC's work are our community values, and those values are deeply rooted in our families' histories as immigrants and refugees. I shared a bit of my family story yesterday, and in conversations with many of you, I heard your inspiring stories as well. This second pillar is also rooted in our teachings, including one of the most frequently stated commandments in the Torah, that you should love the stranger as yourself because you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Our community's values also face serious threats. There is a distressing combination of hostility and indifference to vulnerable communities. We'll be lobbying today on 4 important bills supporting those vulnerable communities. So in closing, I want to thank you again for your support, for your presence, and I wish you all a meaningful and impactful day. JPAC has never been stronger, but the need for our work has never been greater. And now I'd like to invite up the person I have so much pleasure working with, our great executive director, David Bocarsly.
Well, thank you, Marty. I can't thank you enough for the ongoing support, wisdom, and passion that you provide to this work. Good morning, everyone. Morning. How are y'all feeling? We had a really nice night last night, and I am so energized for today. I'm looking out at this room, and I'm feeling inspired. At our conference last year, I was gushing about how our movement had grown. We had secured over $100 million from the state budget for our priorities in the previous 3 years, and helped pass over a dozen bills into law during that time. We were about to take 88 lobby meetings, and the largest banquet room at the Citizen Hotel was bursting at the seams. But last year alone, we blew all those numbers out of the water. You heard Marty's recap. $140 million from the state budget, 15 bills secured. We've expanded our summit to the largest hotel venue in Sacramento, and later today, we're set to take meetings with representatives from 103 legislative offices. For context, there are only 120 legislators. We also added in the last year 8 new member organizations to our coalition, bringing us to 32 members and making us the largest single-state coalition of Jewish organizations in the country. We are building key coalitions with other communities and enhancing our relationships with legislators. Just look at last night. A quarter of the entire legislature joined us to show their support for our work. Our community is realizing more and more how much power there is at the state level. We're getting involved, and we're building something truly special here. As our impact grows, so too does our determination to do more. This year's legislative agenda is ambitious, and it works to tackle some of the major issues facing our society. We are pushing large-scale, life-changing bills around hunger and poverty, immigration, and affordable housing. We're working towards creative and proactive solutions to combat anti-Semitism and hate. And for the first time, we have added a climate action to our policy priorities because we can no longer sit on the sidelines as our world is destroyed. We're working on a lot of issues, I acknowledge that, but we take them on because they are a clear representation of our community's values, as demonstrated by the fact that our organizations represented in this room are doing direct service on all of these issues. We are asking for significant investments from the state budget around community security, refugee support, and intimate partner violence. We know that the state is facing a large budget deficit this year, and we have significantly cut back our own requests as a result, but we are determined to fight for these requests because we know they are essential to ensuring that California remains a safe and prosperous place for all people. And we know these goals are achievable because we've seen what happens when we unite as a community. The key ingredient, of course, is all of you. Look around. Look around. We have over 300 Jewish leaders from across the state who gave up time in the middle of the week to do this work, demonstrating the dedication of our community and the commitment to our values. The lawmakers joining us throughout the summit and those we will be meeting with later today see that sacrifice. And it makes a huge difference in our ability to move forward the issues that are most important to us. So let's give, first of all, a huge round of applause to all of you for doubling down on purpose and making the sacrifices to build up our community. Thank you. I want to give a few acknowledgments. I know Marty already gave some, but first I want to acknowledge our sponsors. These are folks who helped make this summit possible. We named our sponsorship levels this year after strong women in Jewish liturgy who bravely leveraged their own power to create a better world. So I first want to thank the Glazer Foundation for sponsoring at the Miriam level. And the ADL and the Correct Foundation for sponsoring at the Shifra and Pua level. And you can see all of our amazing sponsors in your programs and on your table numbers. Thank you to our sponsors. Marty also already mentioned our Capitol Summit Committee, but I'm going to say it again. This is the first time we put together a summit committee, and these folks are a major reason why we have such a robust program and elevated engagement. I especially want to acknowledge Allison one more time, our esteemed committee chair, who even as she was terming out as my board chair, decided to take on this role and really just showed her investment in this work, so thank you, Allison. I also want to acknowledge all the young people in the room. We have over 50 students and young professionals here with us today. This is a communal effort, and seeing the next generation of our leaders here is a direct investment in this work, so thank you to all of you. And finally, of course, I want to thank our amazing board. This is a group of professional and lay people who run major Jewish organizations across the state, yet dedicate significant time and capital to this work because they recognize the value. You'll see them with a blue, I believe blue, JPAC board ribbon on their name tag, so when you see them, please thank them. So with that, let's talk about the day really quickly. Feel free to follow along in your programs or on the Whova app. We have an incredible lineup of speakers and panels. In a minute, we'll hear from our keynote address from the leader of the Assembly, Speaker Anthony Rendon, and get to learn more about what's happening in Sacramento from Laurel Rosenhall and Dan Walters, who are two prominent Sacramento journalists. We'll then have 3 amazing breakout panels. Unfortunately, you'll have to choose one, but we're going to record them all and share them with you afterwards so you can catch up on what you missed. We'll reconvene back in this room. We're going to close the walls at some point and reopen them back in this room, and we're going to sit with our lobby groups. Some of our policy experts will take you through a quick advocacy training and overview of our priority bills, and then you'll have the time to actually meet with the groups you will be advocating with this afternoon. This will be a valuable opportunity to ask any questions you may have, assign speaking roles, and practice for your advocacy meetings. After our lunch plenary, we will be off to the state capitol for our meetings. We'll be done by 4 p.m. just to set expectations after a full day of learning, community building, and making real progress on our issues. I like to say, though, that this work isn't done today. We're just setting the stage. You don't need to be a content expert or try to convince legislators or staffers the importance of each of our bills. The 2 most impactful things you will do today is 1, show up, demonstrating the power and reach of our community, and 2, you're going to share why you care about these issues. Doing this will help build understanding of our community and our values, and will help further our work into the future. We will then provide resources to legislative offices that will do the rest. It's that simple. This is holy work, and I think it's about time we jump in. Do we have the speaker here? Should we jump into you? Okay. So I'd like to first invite up There he is. Thank you, Speaker. I'd first like to invite up the Vice Chair of our Board of Directors, Debbie Graboff, to introduce our keynote speaker.